I give this is my review of Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, the last two Avengers movies. I give one that's Infinity War a 7 out of 10 for average score. And I give Avengers Endgame for above average score, which is a 8 out of 10. These movies remind me a lot like the quality story turned that I thought this movie, the story in these movies weren't terrible, but they weren't anything good. They were pretty mediocre. Like RoboCop 3. Or Superman 3. Or Superman 4 Quest for Peace. Or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or the first one ever, Mortal Kombat. They're great, standard, mediocre, sellout, cash grab movies with the Avengers brand slapped on the name. Is what Avengers Infinity War and Endgame feels like in a nutshell. Sellouts movies, cash grab movies. Like the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Desperate to somehow make money and it working in the end for them. And when I say the Amazing Spider-Man, that's the one with Andrew Garfield I was referring to. The sequel with Andrew Garfield. Not the first one, though. First one I think is a much better movie. With Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. And that's why I give Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame a 7 out of 10 for Infinity War and an 8 out of 10 for Endgame, which is above mediocre score average. Above average it is. These movies, that one is above everyone is average. Mediocre entertainment. I like these stories even though they were fun with lots of death and resurrection. And death in the plots of these movies. Next was, and the premise of the plot is, for Infinity War, is Thanos collects these things called Infinity Stones, these things called Infinity Gauntlet, and snaps away life, and the Avengers lose, and Endgame picks up right where Infinity War left off. And then they have to time travel back to the future to fix everything that went wrong in the first events, with time travel. I'm building a time travel machine and inventing time travel and perfecting time travel and going back in time to get the Infinity Stones. Okay. And it's okay. So and they went and but and that's the whole thing, is a bunch of time travel logic that's made up. And they are just shitting on better time travel movies, like Back to the Future. This, like, you know, don't know why they do that. And that's the premise of both plots of the Avengers movie. Now let's talk about the characters. Well, most of the characters are pretty forgetful. Like Black Widow, Hulk, also known as Bruce Banner, but once we get to Endgame, there's only Bruce Banner and Hulk's body. And he's basically just Bruce Banner and with Hulk's body. And Hulk doesn't exist anymore, I guess. Don't know why. But as we wait for that confusion until we get to the sequel of Infinity War, which is Avengers Endgame. The better movie. In the Avengers Infinity Saga. I guess that's what this is called. In the Avengers Saga. And, these two Avengers movies, and, so let me re-explain what these characters, the Avengers, are in the short version of the Avengers team's character that I've learned and forgetful how to explain how forgetful their presence are as a team. In the Avengers movie that was directed by the Russos, Russo brothers, I think they're called, that directed these two Avengers movies. So these characters have been reduced to a guy who knows a guy who knows this guy, and the girl who knows this girl who knows this girl, and a girl who wants to talk to this girl who talks to this girl, and a guy who knows this guy who talks to this guy who talks to this guy, and a guy who they've been reduced to those roles. All of the Avengers members, in Endgame and in Infinity War. Oh, don't worry, they don't joke anymore. Like they did on like the first two ones, that was directed by Joss Whedon, a more competent director. Which I think he is, after seeing these two movies by them, the Russo brothers. I mean, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with these movies. These movies were pretty forgetful, and so were these characters of the Avengers. All fucking one of them were disappointments. Every last one of them were a bunch of disappointments at this point at this point I think in the franchise. The last two Avengers movies, it just feels like they don't know what's anything to do. They just like don't know how to make these characters interesting or memorable or fun. Instead, we just get up their own asses prunes. Depress people. That's what the Avengers have been reduced to. That's how fun they are. They're fun as depressed people. That are suicidal, I think. I know that because I have been one before in the past. I have been in the past. So, and I find myself looking back a bit of a downer. Thinking back a bit of a downer a person to talk to. And that's what the beauty is of the Avengers Endgame cast brings to the Endgame movies and Infinity War movie. They bring the much pleasant feeling as someone ready to commit suicide. It feels like comfortable talking to someone that's suicidal. Or listening to a suicidal person. It's like listening to a suicidal person. That's suicidal. That's what the Avengers Endgame characters on the Team Avengers feel like to me. In Avengers Endgame and in Infinity War events. They feel boring and goddamn depressed. All the time. And never have a sense of humor in their body. What are the personalities? I know what the personalities is what the script says is going on. For in Avengers Endgame and in the events of Avengers Infinity War, those are the personalities. They personalize whatever the script says they are. At this point in life. Because comic books are stupid shit. And nobody gives a fuck about them. Because those who are fans of the comics like me, the losers, fucking losers that lost everything in life. Including their fucking sanity and pride. And minds lost their minds by just seeing too much disappointment with every fucking Avengers sequel. That happens right after the first one. And I love how this movie franchise continues to delivering the letdowns and destroying my expectations and barely spoon-fitting me fan service. I enjoy that the little pleasures it has given me in life, this movie. Even though this movie has mostly given me pain and misery and nightmare fuel. Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and Avengers Age of Ultron. All the Avengers sequels, I think. because they're just not the worst thing in the world, but they're just fucking letdowns. That's why I think of the nutshell to the in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. That's why I think of these movies in a nutshell. That's what I meant to say. Why I give one a 7 out of 10, that's Infinity War, and the other one 8 out of 10, that's Endgame, which is above average. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my review, audience. My audience, thanks for watching and tuning into my views and staying through the video and watching it through. Okay, so subscribe, hit the bell first, hit the subscribe second, and hit the thumbs up if you like this video, hit the content, click on my content to click on a button to share. Remember to share my content, and check out my older videos. If you get the chance, whenever that be. I think that's enough. Said goodbye.